Hello, everyone, and welcome to TFYLP, Transformers for Your Listening Pleasure, episode number 187, recorded February 5th, 2016. I am your host, Duran Land, a.k.a. Weird Wolf. Along with me this evening is Rick Alvarez.
I am Delicious Man. Hello.
Kind of like Metal Man, Magnet Man.
Yeah, I'm Delicious Man. That's my supervillain name.
Delicious Man.
Delicious Man. You figure it out.
And you have a big D on your shirt. Oh, wait a minute. That's not fair.
That's right.
Oh, God.
The chest hair. My chest hair forms a D when I take my shirt off.
Also with us is Jim Black, aka Moroni Prime.
Oh.
As well as Jason Walston, aka Plasticon.
How's it going, guys? I'm back from the studio.
Well, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about some things. One thing that was recently kind of in the news and talked about in the fandom. It's not confirmed that it's going to come to be, but we're going to talk a little bit about the possible ramifications, what it might mean if it actually happens, a merger between Mattel and Hasbro. There's been some links and some mentions popping up here recently, and I just read an article a short while ago on Bloomberg Business about this potential merger. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to talk about the characters that were released in or that were introduced in the 1986 animated Transformers movie. We're going to talk about Hot Rod / Rodimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, Cup, Blur, Galvatron, Cyclonus. Those guys. Talk a little bit about how they affected the franchise going forward from the movie, and how they were a stark contrast between the 1984-85 characters and then the 86 and ongoing characters. So we're stay tuned for that. Before we get going, I want to remind people that we have two sponsors. One of them is CapturedPrey.com. Great toys, great prices, great service. CapturedPrey.com, where you can save on orders of $150 or more with free shipping. So there's also the loyalty program. If you did I?
Yeah, Duran?
Yes. Yeah, my connection must be crapping out.
Yeah, there you go.
But sorry about that. But anyway,
program.
Yeah, loyalty program. Loyalty program. If you buy a lot, the more you buy from Captured Prey, you can save even more through the loyalty program. So check out CapturedPrey.com. Also, check out Megatoy at Facebook.com/MegatoyFan. You can maximize your collection while minimizing your costs with Megatoy. And if you are going to Joe Lanta coming up very soon, if you're a G.I. Joe collector, you will find Megatoy there. He's going to be there, set up. So check out Megatoy at Joe Lanta coming up very soon. I'm not sure on the date on that. I should have looked that up. My bad. But he will be there. Check him out. So, guys, this potential merger thingy, I know it's corporate, hoopla and everything, and doesn't necessarily directly have anything to do with the Transformers franchise, but since Hasbro owns Transformers and everything, and there might be some things that affect the brand, like maybe some more money being pumped into the companies, more money for like research development. I don't know exactly how it all works, but there's some potential there. Anybody have any speculations or suppositions based on this potential thing?
I have one major requirement. If Hasbro and Mattel do in fact merge, my requirement is that the resultant company be called Hazmat.
Ha ha ha! See what you did there.
Fail, and it will ruin the whole thing.
Yeah. Those of you who aren't aware of what's going on here, I'm on BloombergBusiness.com here, and I'll read the opening paragraph here to kind of give you the gist of what's going on here. Mattel Incorporated and Hasbro Incorporated have held talks about merging two of the world's biggest toy companies, according to people familiar with the matter, in a deal that would bring together the manufacturer of Hot Wheels and the maker of My Little Pony. Hasbro approached Mattel about a potential transaction late last year, and the companies have held on and off again talks about a deal, the people said, asking not to be identified as the situation isn't public. All of a sudden, here it is. So anyway, details of how a transaction might be structured couldn't immediately be learned. The talks may not lead to a deal, but the people said. Mattel shares rose 1.7% to $32.29 in New York, and Hasbro's rose 1.3% to $75.96, and climbed as high as $78.45 to about a net worth of $9.5 billion. So, big companies. Lots of money being exchanged here, possibly. What do you guys think? Now, Rick, you worked for Hasbro. You talked a little bit about this before the show. What is your insight on this?
Well, I don't have any inside information, so my information is purely opinion only. Sometimes companies will put out feeler stories like this for whatever reason. You see a lot of marketing campaigns do stuff similar with feature films, television series. Could be an attempt to drive up stock prices. Could be an attempt to bring attention to a company. Talks like this have been on and off for years. Like these rumors of Hasbro buying Mattel, Mattel buying Hasbro, Disney buying Mattel, Disney buying Hasbro, Hasbro buying Kenner, Hasbro buying Marvel. So I'm not surprised by these rumors. Until something is concrete, it really just doesn't. I don't feel a need to get concerned over it whatsoever. I think having worked at Hasbro, I think unfortunately if a merger were to take place, I think you're going to see a few people lose their jobs. One of two locations is going to close down, and I would assume that would be the Rhode Island Hasbro offices. And the reason I say that is because Hasbro is more and more trying to enter into the entertainment industry. It wants to be an entertainment company, not a toy company. And Mattel being located in California, right outside LA, I think that has a huge potential to move a lot of people from Rhode Island, from beautiful, scenic, sunny Rhode Island, to gloomy LA, and shutting that office down. So I see, like, that's the first thing that comes to my head. Like, wow, all those people. I still know a lot of those people. Still talk to some of those people. As far as merging the brands, I would love to see a He-Man Transformers crossover.
Yes.
I mean, I'm a huge He-Man fan. But then at the same time, I think about Mattel has purchased Mega Bloks, and we still haven't seen any He-Man Mega Bloks on the market. They tease us a little bit with Castle Grayskull at Comic-Con, but they haven't followed up with anything, and there's no sign of any product being released in regards to any other Mattel lines coming into the Mega Bloks world. I think Hasbro is trying to keep Creo afloat. I think that could be a part of why a merger could be in place to gain access to the Mega Bloks mold, and try and bring the Hasbro brands into the Mega Bloks world, My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, Little Pet Shop, Transformers, and kind of do away with Creo.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't Lego still currently the #1 toy company in the world?
Yes. They are the #1 toy and the #1 tire manufacturer in the world.
Oh yeah, about that. You're right.
Yeah, and they're actually right down the street from me. Their U.S. headquarters is like 30 minutes away from my house.
Wow.
But they don't let me in the building anymore. Not since the incident. So.
Not since the incident.
We won't speak about that one.
Those poor people.
Well, do you see if, and this is all conjecture. This is all conjecture. If this merger actually does happen, do you see it affecting the Transformers brand in a positive or negative way, or at all?
I don't think it would have any impact whatsoever on the Transformers brand. At
None?
all. No. If anything, smaller price point figures, your little Legion class stuff. I don't know what they call the brands now. The deluxe, deluxe, the size below deluxe, stuff like that. Yeah, stuff like that might be Mattel's distribution might help them in emerging markets across the world, markets where Hasbro doesn't necessarily have anything on the shelves. So I think that could be a positive, but I don't think it'll affect the Transformers brand anyway. I think another thing to consider is all the rights that, I mean, this would be like a legal nightmare in regards to like property rights and video rights and a lot of that stuff that Mattel has a hand or like a finger in the pot, and same with Hasbro. Like a lot of that stuff is now represented by Classic Media, which was purchased by DreamWorks, and like at the end of the day, what would be the goal of combining these two? Really, is it just to cut cost? What is the end factor? Because Mattel is very big. They have Barbie and they have Hot Wheels, and Hasbro's just as big. They have Transformers, Nerf. They're trying to make some Star Wars figures, but I hear there's a Rey shortage. And now Hasbro has Disney Princesses, which is one of the biggest brands out there. So what is the point of merging? That's what I ask. What is the end goal? And I think it just comes down to saving money. And fortunately, I think that means a few jobs lost and a certain building closing down.
So it's possible that there's more negative that could come out of it, really, than positive for the fans.
Well, for stockbrokers, it would be a positive. For employees, I think it could be seen as a negative. For fans, I don't think it'll be generally affected, other than maybe gaining some better distribution for certain things, and seeing some fanboy crossovers, fan person crossovers. Sorry.
Well, my thing is that Mattel isn't exactly known for having great case assortments, and their distribution. I know, like I've said before, I collected the Masters of the Universe relaunch in 2002. I got heavy into that, and it was extremely difficult to get a hold of like the odd characters, like Man-at-Arms and Mechanic and everything, because the case assortments, out of a case of 8, you may have like 4 He-Man, 2 Skeletor, and then 1 each of an ancillary character. And I don't know if Hasbro turns its distribution over to like the Mattel guys. I don't know if we would run into the similar thing with Transformers and everything. That would be a nightmare for collectors. Well, I mean, and that's just being doom and gloom about it. I'm not saying that would happen.
Well, it could possibly go the other way too.
Yeah, but you're using an example from 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So things have changed, and you're talking about a specific toy line that's not even available at mass retail, at brick and mortar stores. It's an online exclusive. If anything, I could see them maybe trying to do some kind of crossover branding with Transformers and trying to bring He-Man back into the brick and mortar stores, while at the same time copying what they're doing with He-Man and the Thundercat subscriptions, and creating basically what the TFCC is doing with the yearly subscription figures, and creating a line of Transformers, Joe, Pony, targeted at collectors in that way.
I completely forgot that Mattel had Thundercats. I was, in my mind, still thinking that Bandai had it from back in 2011.
Wasn't that Kenner? Or was it Mattel?
That was Bandai. That was Bandai.
2011.
The relaunch from a few years ago is Bandai.
Oh.
And now Mattel is launching Thundercats later this year through a subscription.
So we could get like a Thundercat Transformer, or a Feliner, or Tower of Omens.
Yeah. You can get a Metroplex that turns into Castle Grayskull.
Who?
Or a Tripticon that transforms into Snake Mountain, or a Feliner that turns into a Sweep or something, sure.
That would be
Thunder Tank that turns into a Megatron.
Yeah. Jason, what's your thoughts on any potential outcome of this?
I can see a lot of Barbie Transformer crossovers. No.
Well,
honestly,
that's not out of the question, because Barbie does have a long history of crossing over with a lot of pop culture properties. Not to interrupt you, but Batman versus Superman, we just saw those pop up. All the DC stuff, what's that Mockingbird one with the girl that shoots an arrow?
Oh, Hunger Games?
Hunger Games, yeah, that thing, So, I could probably go for like a Barbie-inspired RC, or, Spike and Carly or something. Negative.
Interesting, yeah, probably to see something like that. But the thing I'm actually, if they did this the right way, think about back when we were kids and we got like the Micro Machine things where like you had the fold out bases and stuff like that, and then it all kind of had like a bit of a transformation to it. Imagine what they could do with Hot Wheels. And I mean, everybody out there's had Spy Changers before. I'm a big Spy Changer fan, and they do fit on Hot Wheel racetracks. So I can see maybe a little more potential for something similar to that. I mean, think about some of the Legend figures we have that are fairly articulated, and they almost are about the size of, they're a little bigger than a Hot Wheel, but they can probably get the engineering down. Imagine getting all the ones like that.
Our RPMs and Speed Stars that we got back in like Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon era, those were probably the closest we got to Hot Wheels as far as that goes.
Yeah, I was just thinking RPMs, the rip-ups.
Yeah, and those were actually pretty neat. Although it was these, just stand up the car and you got the whole silhouette of the robot on the bottom. But I mean, you think about it, if they really wanted to engineer more of the transformation gimmick, they would probably turn more to what can I do with like a Legends figure, and push that along with a Spy Changer to make an even more articulated robot, be able to sell a ton of those with like a Hot Wheel racetrack set. And I don't know, you got something that's like a Metroplex that transforms or something.
I was thinking something pretty similar to that, but I was thinking about the Hot Wheels Star Wars and how the character kind of becomes the car. So Darth Vader's helmet is elongated and that becomes a car, where I can see them trying to do something where, they make the classic vehicles for Transformers, but they also take Prime's head, elongated, and that's a truck in the shape of Prime's head.
So animated Prime.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's just what I would do.
I think it would be pretty interesting, honestly, because, and if they really want to, who out there actually has like the Micro Machine brand? Who does that right now?
Mattel.
So Mattel
Micro Machine. I'm sorry. Micro Machine is Hasbro. Micro
So-
Machine is Hasbro. Hot Wheels and Matchbox is Mattel.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can see almost like a crazy crossover.
Uh-oh, he dropped off.
He's dead to us now.
I blame G2 Superion.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. There he is.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But you think about it, there's a potential there that if they really wanted to do it the right way, they can release Hot Wheels that look like, like the Fairlady Z's. They can release an Optimus Prime that looks like the actual truck. from
Yeah.
the 80s. They can
Absolutely.
literally do that kind of thing, and they can put it in a Hot Wheels environment and even maybe kind of push the engineering even more and go into a micro machine size too, which would be really cool. And I know guys out there would buy those like in droves. I mean, especially if they're dirt cheap. Who wouldn't want an Optimus Prime for like $4 or $5?
Well,
You know?
you also think about what other brands Hasbro has and the potential for a Hot Wheels inspired line. Tons of G.I. Joe vehicles, and then there's the big one, Mask.
Mm.
Imagine
Oh, yeah.
what they could do with Mask and Hot Wheels. We saw a little bit of that in the RPMs, like the bigger figures, but it's just a way. I mean, the Hot Wheels name does carry a lot of weight with it, so it would get a lot of those people who are those diehard Hot Wheels collectors to look at potentially another brand.
Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of those Hot Wheel collectors out there, they look at all of them. Like they had like the Jetsons little bubble car that was a Hot Wheels car, and it's labeled the Jetsons. And then they had stuff for like some like major bands like AC/DC and stuff like that. They had vehicles that were plastered all over. There's no reason why they couldn't do this with the Transformer.
They even did the Angry Birds. It was actually the actual bird and the actual pig with wheels on it.
I think it would be cool if you did the Hot Wheels were Autobots and the Matchbox were Decepticons, because there's diehard fans out there who only collect Matchbox, only collect Hot Wheels, but now if they want to complete it, you're making them buy the other person's brand.
That'd be awesome, and then like the play sets like coincide with that.
That
too,
would be
you
evil.
know.
That would be evil. Exactly what it is.
That'd be so
That-
cool.
that
I would be
is
so
cool.
behind that.
See, that's how my dirty mind thinks.
Honestly, I think that's actually a better way of trying to get people to buy both sides of the brand, you know, and that's great. That's actually a great marketing scheme there. That would work.
Cross-selling, yes.
Well, I actually kind of like Plasticon's idea that he brought up just a few minutes ago. As far as getting some of the like the Optimus Prime and the Fairlady Z's as Hot Wheel cars, it got me thinking. As much of a nostalgia factor as the Heritage G1 line is, how awesome would it be to just have a collection of die-cast vehicles that are the G1 like 84 and 85 vehicles, just having die-cast representation of those for display.
Yeah.
To have the Maserati, to have the Porsche, all these others licensed.
Maserati.
Well,
Who's a Maserati?
One of the
What wasn't that Wheeljack? Wasn't that a Maserati?
No, he was
no,
a
Lancia Stratos.
Oh, Lance. I don't know.
But the thing I would see there, though, who's got the? I don't know who it is that actually has the license to Johnny Lightning.
I believe
Like-
that's also owned by. I thought Mattel bought that up.
Is that Mattel
Yeah,
as
'cause
well?
I thought Mattel bought that up.
Because Johnny Lightnings, I don't know if you guys have ever played with any of those, but they actually, some of them have rubber tires, and they're actually very well done. They're like literally almost like the car literally shrunk down. They have opening doors, hood opens, all that. It'd be amazing to see like a set sold like that are Transformers. That would be really cool. I mean, if you did it like we were talking about, like the die-cast vehicles, it'd be like a miniature scale of just like, if you have Prowl and all his doors open and the back opens and the hood opens and shows the engine. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who wouldn't want that.
Apparently, there's this company called Tomy that bought the Johnny Lightning brand.
Tommy.
Well, tell me,
Somewhere.
Tomy, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Well, this is a lot of great spec. Uh-oh. Did I fade out again?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yep.
There's this is a lot of great speculation and everything, and we could speculate until the cows come home, but we really don't know. But there is some information out there. Check out the websites, and there's really nothing really to be concerned about until something actually happens. So all this talk and all these articles on Transformer websites about a potential merger. Right now, there's really nothing that's that's come to fruition. These are things that we either think might happen, would like to happen, don't know. But if you want to give us your thoughts, check us out on Twitter at TFYLP. I'm monitoring the Twitter feed right now, so if you want to interact with us live during the show, if you're watching us on YouTube, mention us at TFYLP on Twitter, or you can post in our Facebook group that we have going on. Quite a few members. We've got 536 members right now. So, we're monitoring that during the show. So if you want, and I'm reading these texts here on the video chat, and I'm like, yeah, you guys can just suck an egg. But yeah, join in the fun, and we may even mention your comment or question on air. So the 1986 movie, a little disjointed segue here, but the 1986 movie, a lot of us love that, especially if you're a Gen 1 fan. It has a love-hate relationship, honestly, within the fandom. A lot of people don't like the 86 movie and the stories afterwards, think that it got quite watered down. Some of us, like myself, I enjoyed a lot of the characters post-movie, and even during the movie. Optimus Prime died in the movie and was replaced by, yes, he died. And
Spoiler!
Yes, yeah, 30-year-old spoiler.
Right.
And was replaced by Rodimus Prime, who was a grown-up version of Hot Rod. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. This is part of our 30th anniversary of Transformers the movie from 1986. This is also the 20th anniversary of Beast Wars. So throughout the year, we're going to talk a little bit about the 86 movie and a little bit about Beast Wars, kind of celebrate the anniversaries of both of those monumental things within the franchise. But tonight we're going to look at the characters that were introduced in the 1986 movie and what we think of the main ones and how they impacted the franchise. Now, it can't be denied that post-1986 was vastly different from the previous 2 seasons or 2 years of Transformers from 1984 to 85. But 86 was, if I'm not mistaken, some of the movie characters were actually some of the first Transformers to be designed as Transformers. It was not imported over from other lines, because 84 and 85 characters were almost entirely, I believe, imported from Diaclone, Microchange, Microman, those lines like that. But in the 86 movie, we were introduced to characters. Ultra Magnus was Powered Convoy in Diaclone.
Yep.
But I don't believe Blur, Cup, any of those, Hot Rod, I think those were entirely new designs that were introduced, and they were and always have been Transformers. So it's actually a very historic time in Transformers. Jason, I'll start with you since you're first on the right going this way. The 86 movie characters, how did you see them in stark contrast to the 84, 85 guys, and who was your favorite one?
I would say, like, in stark contrast, they felt a little more blocky. They didn't have, like, some of them had, like, a streamlined design, but, like, toy-wise, they felt really chunky compared to the other ones. It felt almost like an ornate type of transformation, I would say. It was just a little different. Like, character-wise, from, like, the movies and such, I've always been an Ultra Magnus fan, but I would have to say Springer. I just always liked him. I liked his design. I liked the character. I just like the versatility of bringing in a new triple.
A new triple.
He's dead.
Yes.
He's dead.
Since he's away and everything, I think Headmaster Don should have been on this episode because he could have totally gushed about RC again.
Why didn't we get an RC figure back in '86? Even in '87, they made a Headmaster. They could have just made her a Headmaster then.
We love you, Don. Are you back with us, Jason? No, I think he's still frozen. Okay, Jim. I'll pass on to you and let Jason finish whenever he comes back. Same question to you. How do you draw a stark contrast between the 84, 85 characters and the 86 movie characters, and who is your favorite?
Well, as far as contrast, with 84 and 85, it seemed to me more of a type of thing where it was like whoever's in that particular episode would interact, and not so much a set click like we got in season 3 and the 86 movie and all of that. Because look back at like season 2. Okay, you may have I don't know, Perceptor and I don't know, Huffer, and a couple other people a couple other of the team on a mission for that particular episode, and it would change up constantly. Next episode you might have Warpath and Grapple, or something teaming up for something. But with the 86 movie and from then on out, I think we started to kind of introduce to the brand kind of the dynamic of having a narrowed down team that we also saw continue on in like Prime and Beast Wars and all that, where you have just a select few, and they're the main characters that are always the dominant focus for the most part. Because look at 86, you've got Ultra Magnus, Springer, RC Cup, Hot Rod, Blaster, and all these others, and those are constantly in every episode. Maybe not every single one, but it always focuses around those. You build more of a kind of a triangle thing between RC, Springer, and Hot Rod, off and on throughout season 3. That starts a little bit in the movie.
You've got a great point there. In the 84, 85 characters, especially in the cartoon, we saw pretty much a cavalcade of characters that come and go, and the main characters that was on every show was Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and then it was like a bunch of other characters that rotated in and out. Whereas, post movie, it seemed to be the same core group. I mean, everybody talks about Beast Wars, how the small cast, everybody seemed to be more identified with those characters because it was small and very compact. And if you look at the core characters in the 86 movie and season 3, yes, we still had a cavalcade of characters that kept coming in, but every episode pretty much was around the central core characters of Hot Rod, or I'm sorry, Rodimus, Ultra Magnus, RC, Springer, Grimlock, and Perceptor, and I guess to a lesser extent Wreck-Gar. And then on the Decepticon sides, it was always Galvatron, Scourge, and Cyclonus, and then whoever else they wanted to throw in there with them. So yeah, I kind of see. I like that. I like that idea that you brought forward there.
You did it first.
Yep.
I don't know if it was intentional, but I think it was because they happened to be the ones that were the main focus in the film. They were the ones introduced, and as a result of that focus and exposure, I think that carried on and continued on through the series. I think they started to break away from that a bit through season 3 when they started to be able to introduce more characters. We got some more of the special combiner teams like the Predacons, the Technobots, Throttlebots, just different odds and ends on into Rebirth. But overall, I think as a result of ultimately the movie, the 86 movie. And as far as a favorite, as much as a lot of people in the fandom probably would not agree, I think Hot Rod, only because I don't think he was given a fair shake. I think he has that stigma of having been involved indirectly in Prime's death in the movie, and he never recovered from that. But honestly, I think that character had a lot more potential than he was ever given.
Well, he was also very deep in the fact that he had the burden of leadership thrust upon him. He wasn't looking for it; it just happened.
Yeah, as a Prime, sure.
Yeah, but
even when Optimus came back, he became Hot Rod again. But we never see him again for another 18 years till Energon, and even then he's some kind of truck thing.
Well, you're talking about Energon. I mean, that's
not
whole necessarily.
continuity.
Yeah,
well, I'm just saying, just in general, once G1 was over, really, so too was Hot Rod, for the most part.
Unless you read the G2 comics.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
nobody
outside of
pays any attention to those.
outside of Titanium or maybe the Commemorative Series reissue, when's the last time we got a Rodimus Prime character?
Masterpiece. Animated, yeah.
That wasn't Prime. That was just Rodimus or Hot Rod.
Well, the Masterpiece was Rodimus Prime, but he just didn't come with his trailer in the U.S.
I'm not even sure if we should count that one. I owned the Hasbro one, and the Target Master was neat, but what were they thinking? They were trying to cram too much into one toy. I don't know. Yeah, Hot Rod.
Yeah.
Slash Rodimus.
The potential was there, but the engineering was crap.
Yeah. Yeah. But what about you, Rick? What's your thoughts on?
Well, the first thing that I think about is how different the toys were. You look at all those 84, 85 cars for the Autobots. You look at those Decepticon Seekers, and the transformation sequences seem different. They're thought out differently. The plastic, the scales seem different. It was a very big contrast, and I remember playing as a kid, like kind of keeping them separate because like these were the old Transformers, and these are the new Transformers. And with the new Transformers, in my head, they could go to any other planet they wanted to, but the old Transformers had to stay on Earth because they looked like the Earth cars.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jim makes an excellent point with the film and the story, and really focusing on a certain group of characters. You think about G1, like the first two seasons, and all right, Optimus and Bumblebee were Starscream were pretty much in almost every episode, and then it was a revolving
And he drops.
door. And I think we passed.
Yeah,
Oh,
there we
I'm
go.
still. Hello.
You dropped off for us.
Lollipop Island.
Mm.
So I think for season 3, yeah, there is a core cast there, but there's episodes where it's Ultra Magnus Wreck-Gar with whoever, Marissa Fairborn and somebody else, and a Quintesson. Or hey, there's Skylinks, but they're still Blur. So you still see those guys from the movie, and it's interesting when you see the Headmasters TV series in Japan that it's even more focused on who the core group is.
Daniel and Wheelie.
Mm.
Yeah, it's all about Daniel and Six Shot.
Well, there was also some more dynamic that was thrown in that we didn't have in the first 2 years of Transformers, and I'm talking specifically from the standpoint of the cartoon. You know, you had in the first 2 seasons in 84, 85, the primary goal was for the Autobots was to drive the Decepticons from Earth, who was trying to steal Earth's energy. But after the movie, the Decepticons were still after energy, but it really shifted the whole focus I mean, Unicron changed the game in the movie. I mean, you threw him in there, and the Matrix. The Matrix wasn't even mentioned the first 2 seasons, and then you have the movie, and you're like, what's this Matrix thing? But then it explains that it was always there. It just never really was mentioned until the movie, and you have this whole drama that surrounds the Matrix. Everybody's after the Matrix. They want the Matrix. And the Matrix destroyed Unicron. It must be very powerful. Galvatron wants it, and for a short while he had it. Even Scourge had it. So it was a dynamic that was thrown into the storyline that was not there previously. And now it still has ramifications 30 years later. We talk about the Matrix. The Matrix was in the animated movie in '86. It's in the new movies, especially in Revenge of the Fallen, even though it looks like a dagger. So, but it's there. It added something to the lore. Unicron was added to the lore in the movie. Rick, who was your favorite character that was introduced in the movie?
I would say it was Hot Rod, but now he was a kid. He was a cool car.
You were cutting out, Rick. Who was it?
So Hot Rod was the main focus in the film. He had that relationship with Daniel, and we all kind of envisioned ourselves as Daniel when we were watching that film. But now that I'm an adult and I look back and I'm like, man, it's really cool that Blur could really. He talked fast, he moved fast, he turned into this hover car type of thing. So going forward, it was always Blur became my favorite as an adult later on. And we did this crazy awesome art of Blur for Transformers Prime universe, and it never came to be. But he was all black, and he had like the blue Tron lights all over him.
Oh.
He left that Tron trail when the Speed Cycle was going through. Like he left that trail behind him, and
that'd be horrible.
Yeah, I was glad to see him animated. But yeah, so as a kid, Hot Rod. As an adult, it's Blur.
Also, I would have thought you would have said Scourge, because Scourge is like right up there.
The flying bar of soap.
Yes. He always had. Everybody made fun of him back in the '80s. Whenever we were kids, it was like, what the hell does he turn into? Is he a boat? Is he a spaceship? What is he? But it doesn't really matter. I mean, he just had a vehicle alt mode, and you got had those cowling wings, and he was just this lackey you love to hate. But before we go too far, we need to go back to Plasticon. He didn't get to finish his talking because Google decided he needed to leave.
I'm guessing Google must be messing up because several of us are lagging out. Like I was saying, I liked Springer, because Springer, I just like his helicopter mode. I really dug. It was almost like a futuristic Apache. And then his alt mode just being like kind of like almost like a weird looking tank dune buggy thing. I thought that was kind of neat. But I liked the idea that they brought another triple changer into the limelight versus just a robot turns into one alt mode. And that's
the Autobots finally got their triple changers. I mean, we had them in season 2.
Right.
With the Decepticons.
With Sandstorm and everything. But I really did like the idea that they did that. I didn't mind his character. I kind of liked his character quite a bit. I did like Retgar. Retgar was neat. When it comes to like adult type of stuff, I really dig his just quirkiness. But I don't know. I've always liked Springer. I don't know why. It's just something about his character in there I just enjoyed.
There's something else. You talked about how the Decepticons, they had Astro Train and Blitzwing for the triple changers, and then in the movie we're introduced to Springer, and then later on Sandstorm in season 3. But something else that was introduced in the movie that we didn't have, or that was kind of uneven, prior to the movie. Soundwave had his tapes. Well, in the movie, Blaster finally got his tapes. We saw Blaster previously. We had the Blaster toy, but no tapes. It's like, here's Soundwave, this cassette deck, had all these cassettes that he could eject out of his chest. They become these little minions. Well, here's Blaster. He turns into a boombox, and he opens up his chest just like Soundwave, but there's nothing inside. No minions to put it in there. Well, in the movie, we get Steeljaw, Rewind, Ramhorn, Eject. Those guys pretty even up a little bit, even though I think Soundwave always had way more cassettes, and it never was very fair. But
yeah, I think
what do you?
That was a huge moment. I remember being so excited as a kid when I saw the movie and those tapes popped out. I'm like, oh, finally, he's got tapes.
And there, the transition from the 84, 85 characters to the 86 movie, of Transformers. And I think for the Autobots, it was primarily, I'm probably cutting out really bad. Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like your screen might be frozen, but we can hear you at least.
Yeah.
It's better than looking at you.
Yeah, I know I'm ugly. But the
that's on the outside.
The 84, 85 guys, the carryover into the 86 movie cast and beyond, there had to be some tying factors, some tying characters that tied it in with what we were familiar with. And for the Autobots, it was primarily Blaster, Perceptor, and Grimlock. For the Decepticons, we didn't have so much. I mean, we had the Combiner Team guys, like the Stunticons, the Combaticons. I think those were the ties to the earlier Transformers for there. What do you think about the change? I mean, do you think it was too soon? Did we not had the first 2 years of Transformers run its course? Were you ready for a whole new cast of characters to come in and change? Jim, what do you think?
I think it was an awful sharp change and an awful lot just all at once, as opposed to what could be a smoother transition. I mean, a lot of it I can understand, like the death of Optimus, the coming of Unicron, and things like that. But I mean, it seemed like it was specifically only the 84 and 85 characters that died, and I mean, I understand from a marketing standpoint they were trying to discontinue the old toys and whatnot, but even so, I mean, you would have thought, something called Autobot City, maybe it would be, staffed with a bunch of, generic foot soldiers, no-name bots and that, and some of them could have ended up getting off too. But I would imagine they might not have put that much thought into it, or if they did, it probably just didn't get past the final okay.
What about you, Jason? What do you think?
I completely agree with him on that. It was a very, very drastic change, especially like in just toy design alone. It was just really odd. I mean, although Cyclonus and Galvatron were cool, but Galvatron turned into this big, bulky, weird-looking laser gun, and we're used to seeing something, a lot more sleek and different.
Like Shockwave.
Like Shockwave, literally, like Shockwave. And still like does the lights and sound, but I can understand why they had to do it because like I said, marketing standpoint. But I personally think it was I think they could have transitioned it maybe with like a couple prequel cartoons, like I guess right at the end of the season, right before they rolled into the movie. It probably would have been a little more received better, I would think, if they would have done something like that.
At least maybe to introduce a couple characters, maybe Magnus or something.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, they could have like introduced, like the moons on.
And that's kind of like what Scramble City was in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to understand there from the end of Bot in 1985, which was the last season 2 episode, and the last time we really got any new characters in '85.
Brawl does not approve.
Yeah. But from that episode to the beginning of the movie, there was what 20, 30 years in time that
right at around 20.
That we don't even know what happened. It's like, we're all of a sudden, we're seeing Ultra Magnus and Cup and Blur and Hot Rod, and it's like, where did these people come from?
And Spike's a grown-up with a kid.
Yeah. What happened? I've always wanted to see a Transformer series that was a transition series between the 84, 85 characters and the 86 characters. I've always wanted to see that, whether it be in comic form, cartoon, what have you. Rick, what do you think about all this?
Well, it was about selling toys and moving forward, but you look at a lot of the other toy lines that were around in the 1980s, and Transformers kind of did something which no other toy line did. They got rid of characters, and if you look at G.I. Joe, you look at He-Man, they would introduce a brand new Duke. They would introduce a Duke in a new body, a Roadblock in a new body, a new Cobra Commander action figure. He-Man would introduce a He-Man with the shattering armor on his chest, or the Flying Fist He-Man, or they'd make a brand new Skeletor. With Transformers and switching to that 86, I think the transition would have been better if it was like, well, here's a new Optimus Prime toy. He's Optimus, but now he's, super flying Energon Optimus with sparks, and kind of keep those characters around a little bit to capitalize on those first 2 years, rather than just chop half the cast off and say, all right, well, these guys are dead, and now these are your new characters.
Not to get too far off topic, but it's slightly relevant. I just realized something actually kind of hilarious. Is due to this movie, half the cast got 86th. That just occurred to me.
Wow.
Maybe that was the running joke that nobody got on to.
It's like what do we do with all these characters? Blue Streak, Prowl, all these guys. What do we do with them? 86 of them. They got 86th. Wheeljack, Ironhide, they got 86th. Yeah. Well, as a kid, I found the contrast between the 85 guys and the 86 guys. At first, I'll be honest, I hated it. I loved that was part of what I loved about the 84, 85s, is that you had realistic cars, trucks, and other vehicles. And yeah, you had the Dinobots, but robot dinosaurs. Yeah. Every kid loves that. But
it's awesome.
For the most part, though, they were realistic. They had real world tie-ins. And then you get to the 84, 85, or the 86, the 86 movie characters, and you've got such weird, outlandish, out-of-this-world designs. I mean, it's like Blur. Did he even have wheels? Cup, what the hell was he? Was he a pickup? Was he a car? A lot of my friends, we just kind of gathered, okay, his name is Cup, which is short for pick cup, so we assumed he was a futuristic pickup. Then Rodimus Prime, a flaming Winnebago. It's really cool. I get it in that it's a cool visual design, but honestly, I mean,
it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because our rule of thumb when we were designing and working on like Fall of Cybertron and anything that was future or Cybertron design related was, all right, it's 10 years out. That's how you got to look at it. So what does Optimus Prime look like on Cybertron? Well, it's just a truck 10 years down the road from Earth. So you wanted kids to have that recognizable design. And with a lot of those 86 characters, it's not necessarily recognizable. Okay, Wheeljack or Wreck-Gar turns into a motorcycle. He's got the silhouette of a motorcycle, but have you ever seen something like that? And Galvatron and the sweeps.
Well,
and Cyclonus.
I mean, Ultra Magnus here. I mean, he was probably the most recognizable alt mode out of any of them. That and Blaster and Perceptor. But everybody else was what are they? I mean, like we said earlier, Scourge. What is he? Is he a boat? Is he a spaceship? Is he both? You know, ultimately we discovered he kind of was both. You know,
he's a space boat.
Yeah, he's a space boat. But we never really did. We ever see him floating on water? I don't think so. You know, so even though technically, if you look at his packaging, it refers to him as a hovercraft, which makes him a boat technically. But we always saw him flying through space. You know.
I had always wanted to create a character that, like, tell a story where Cup was a young guy, and you shows him as like a rookie cop, and he had a partner named Saucer.
Cup and Saucer.
I like that one.
Turned into a spaceship.
and it was like Cosmos' like brother or something.
Yeah, no, he would only mention Cosmos, but you'd never see Cosmos. I got a brother who's green. He turns into a plate.
He like cuss out Cosmos every other episode. Like, the guy owes me $20.
Yeah, and it was not really. Well, the meme didn't come along until much later. But nowadays you could throw in every now and then he'll say, "I want to believe him, but I just can't." You know, he's a UFO. I want to believe.
Yeah.
So that's all right. Challenge to any listener out there. I want this for my Facebook wallpaper. Take the X-Files I Want to Believe poster and put an awesome Cosmos in there instead.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. Matter of fact, I think I did a picture of Legends Cosmos, and I put I Want to Believe on it. I need to reshare that very soon. So the 84, 85 guys, what do you think about? Should some of them stayed around? Who do you think would have fit in best with the 84, 85? Or the 86 characters?
Now you're just talking from a personality standpoint.
Well, I mean, it's looks and or personality, whatever floats your boat.
Well, I think Bumblebee could have been used more. I mean, he was such a big part of that show that he was like the one guy that actually got a new toy. He's like, hey, I'm Goldbug now. Check me out.
Yeah. And then Cup. I mean, he should have been renamed Shit Piece. You know, but. But Prime, that's what you'll be from now on, Cup. Shit Piece.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Rude Awakening, Optimus Prime. Look it up on YouTube. If you don't know what we're referring to, was it Dr. Smoove?
Yes.
One of the most hilarious little video clips that you will watch related to the character. I mean, if you haven't watched it, you've done yourself a disservice.
I think that thing's got to be like 13, 14 years old now.
Yeah.
Right up there with the breakdancing Soundwave.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen that breakdancing Soundwave?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah, they modeled it off my dancing.
Because you're pretty fly like that.
Well, you know.
You're pretty fly for a toy guy.
That's why I keep him around. My buddy Jack helps me out.
Plasticon, what do you think? What characters do you think would have meshed well with 86 characters? Don't get in a hurry to answer now.
You live?
Oh, there he is.
Lagging out because Google sucks. What you were asking?
Okay, the 84, 85 characters, which ones of those characters do you think would have meshed well as a regular character in the 86 movie and beyond?
Jetfire, come on! What happened to him? Seriously, it would have worked. I think it would have worked really well because, you think about it, you had Diatlas that could fly, that looked like a spaceship kind of thing. I mean, Jetfire kind of had a spaceshipy kind of vibe to him. I don't see why you couldn't.
Well, he was shown flying in space.
Well,
So
there you go. Why wasn't he brought in? There's a good one for you.
Well,
what about you, Jim? What do you think?
Honestly, what I would have liked to have seen were actually some characters that weren't in the cartoon series. Even though a couple of them did have the Fluoro Dairy, line art and everything, concept art drawn, but never actually made it into the final show. Are not only the Jumpstarters Twin Twist and Topspin, but also the Wreckers Roadbuster and Whirl to kind of go along with Jetfire. Because I think those characters themselves would have helped to kind of flesh out the Autobot ranks, have some more reinforcements for the Battle of Autobot City. Plus, Topspin and Twin Twist, they're not necessarily your average Earth-based modes. They're Cybertronian vehicles of sorts. So that would help kind of to bridge into the more futuristic designs of, say, the Flaming Winnebago and the Flying Bar of Soap and stuff. So,
yeah. Well, I don't think I ever got to say, but I think my favorite character in the that was introduced in the '86 movie had to have been Ultra Magnus. He even though he couldn't deal with that right now, I always liked him. He basically replaced Prime to me as the big semi, the stalwart of the Autobot ranks. He was always the base that Rodimus Prime would always go to as a capable commander. He knew he could give Rodimus knew he could give a task to Ultra Magnus, and Ultra Magnus would do his best to see it out,
providing he could deal with it.
Yeah, providing he could deal with it. But he survived being torn to pieces by the sweeps. And he saw the most beautiful thing in the galaxy and blew it up with a bomb. So, I love Ultra Magnus. He's a great character, and I echo a lot of your thoughts on those characters. Is there any other '86 movie characters that we were introduced to in the movie that we've overlooked and that we need to mention that had a lasting impact on the franchise?
Cyclonus.
Wheelie.
Wheelie and Cyclonus, actually.
Wheelie.
I think the Sharkticons as a concept has stayed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we haven't gotten any new toys other than third-party ones that actually do them justice.
What about Galvatron? I mean, we had that Universe toy. Weird, but it's a version of the robot. What do you guys think about Galvatron and the upgraded Megatron as the upgraded Megatron?
Well, as a concept, it was great. I absolutely love the idea that Megatron got reformatted and became a new character. I think that was a great transition for that character. You know him, all right, that's Megatron, just in a new body. And I wonder if they could have done something similar for a lot of the other Autobots.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the fact that they took Megatron, upgraded him to Galvatron as a character, and in the movie he was this, very competent, very sane, but extremely driven version of Megatron as Galvatron, and then he got thrown into the lava pit and shorted out some circuits and became an insane version of Galvatron that we saw throughout Season 3. He was just virtually insane. He had the brilliance of Megatron, the cunning of Megatron, but he was just completely insane. And I think it took a lot of the comedic value that we had from some of Megatron's cockamamie schemes in the 84, 85 storylines, and then in 86, it made them more realistic and grounded. It's like, okay, that's a cockamamie scheme, but what else would you expect from an insane leader? You know, send them off on this crazy quest or insane battle. It's like, okay, everybody, let's rush them. It's like, I don't think Megatron would have had everybody do that. It's like he'd do a tactical retreat if they're outnumbered. Galvatron doesn't care. Let's go. You know, he's insane, and I loved that character twist in Galvatron. He was Megatron. He had the cunning, the intelligence, the wit of Megatron, yet he just had a few screws loose because of that incident. So Galvatron was just amazing.
On that note, just for kind of an example, I mean, you knew that something had to be a little bit off with Galvatron when he's rescued from the lava pits of Char, only to turn around and complain that somebody interrupted his lava bath. Like, really?
Hence the insanity. Yeah, he was enjoying it.
Yeah.
Wheelie.
Maybe it
Go
was.
ahead.
I was about to say maybe he went insane because he didn't have Starscream to kick around anymore.
Because he destroyed him. Yeah.
I know.
Well, see that's the thing I liked about Galvatron in the movie is the fact that, he did something that Megatron was hesitant to do, get rid of his Air Commander Starscream. He was tired of Starscream always stepping on his toes, going behind his back. As Galvatron, he did something about it. He did something, and that was something that I found that Flint Dille and the crew, that when they wrote the '86 movie, it seemed like they had a plan for Megatron and changing him into this new character, and turning him into this character. And how do you do that? How do you go about doing that? You have him do something that Megatron was unwilling to do or couldn't do, and that's kill Starscream.
Mm-hmm.
Now Wheelie. Everybody, Wheelie is a dividing line in this fandom. If you're familiar with the character at all, you either love him or you hate him. I'm in the love camp. I love Wheelie. Yes, he was a little bit annoying in the cartoon, but I loved Wheelie. His toy was great. His G1 toy is great. It was unique. What do you guys think, Rick?
Well, I'm in that camp that I think he's a little annoying. I did like him in the movie versus the TV series. But what I will say about Wheelie, and it's kind of off topic, the IDW story of how he became a rhyming robot was just pure genius. And it made me appreciate the character on a whole other level. So I'm kind of hoping that Wheelie shows up again in the Idwa comics.
Spoiler alert, I have not read this comic and this storyline. So anybody who has not read it, Rick, I'd like to hear about that real quick if you can sum it up.
Okay, so basically he crash lands on a planet, and he's a regular talking transformer. He meets this alien that's there, and the alien rhymes. And the only way Wheelie can communicate with him is through using the same syntax. So he starts to rhyme little by little, and they end up being on that planet for whatever it is, 100 years or so. And by the end of it, they rhyme in such a way that they complement each other. And when he escapes the planet, that's just a part of who he is now. It's in the Wheelie one-shot. I highly recommend it. If there's any Idwa writers out there listening, please bring Wheelie back.
Sounds an awful lot like that one movie, Enemy Mine.
Yeah, kind of like that. Bumper Robinson, was that the guy in it? Was that the guy who played Bumblebee in TF Animated? He was the little kid in Enemy Mine.
What?
Little trivia fact for you there. Sorry if I got the name wrong.
Nice.
Well, another Transformer tie-in.
Bringing it around full circle.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
No, now, is there any character now? What do you feel about the big guy himself, Unicron, and his impact, his introduction in the movie? Do you like how it was done? Do you dislike how it was done? And how do you feel the franchise would be without Unicron today? I'll start with Rick since you're on the left this time.
Well, I love Unicron. I love the whole creation story that's followed up with in the comic books that Simon Furman came up with. I think he's an essential part of the brand. He's something more. I like the comic book origin story versus the Call of the Primitives origin story for Unicron. To think that Unicron and Primus are something more than just Transformers that can be built or have a spark. They're supernatural, and I like that side that it's not just a big robot. It's a supernatural entity that even if you destroy its body, it's still alive. It can still hurt you. It can still come after you. And to think that, what if the devil was real, and he showed up on your front door? That's kind of like the story I think about when I think of Unicron.
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't that kind of carry over into the Transformers Prime universe? I mean, where Unicron was pretty much an elemental of the core of Earth. He was like the devil incarnate from within the Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where we were trying to establish a connection between Earth and Cybertron, and why Earth was that one planet that all the Transformers stories seem to connect to. I think it was Dwayne Capizzi who came up with the idea that if Cybertron is really Primus and it's a robotic world, then Earth, being an organic world, would be Unicron. Where Cybertron is ones and zeros, and Earth has spoken languages, different languages. That's the chaos and the order, and that kind of that's what brings the Transformers together.
Awesome.
Another reason why everyone is bipedal and has two sets of eyes, a set of eyes and a set of hands, and we all kind of look the same when we're standing upright because we're all connected.
The robots have 2 arms and legs, and humans do.
Yeah, because we're all descended from the same thing.
Mm. Interesting. So, Plasticon, what do you think about Unicron and his impact on the franchise?
I think it was about as metal as it gets. Seriously. Honestly, I mean, I absolutely loved how they introduced him in. It was like, oh my God, there's this gigantic planet that eats other planets. And it's just not many. I don't even think there really was anything out during that time that even reflected that when it came up.
Pac-Man.
So, well,
Death Star, but
the Death Star blew up planets but didn't consume them. So I like the idea behind him. I like the idea that he was just like the ultimate baddie, and it's like, okay, what can the leaders of both factions be able to do against this thing that can just literally take Cybertron and just rip it in two?
Power
it's
pellet.
just I thought it was just awesome, and his character design is just phenomenal. I'm a big fan of Unicron. I thought he was great. I thought he was actually pretty good in the Unicron series that we got. It's pretty good. They brought his character back and finally gave us a toy. Although the prototypes for the original toy looked like a beach ball with legs, but I actually kind of.
But you'd still want it.
I do.
You still want it, though, don't you?
Because it's just like this stupid blue color and the yellow. I mean, it's like, please, somebody, third party, make something like that. Because I don't know if you guys saw the actual prototype, but the prototype actually had almost like a thing where it had other planets that would orbit around it too. It was really weird.
But that was part of a camera feature where you would actually, you would kind of look into it and you might see a scene. It was kind of like a ViewMaster from what I understand.
Oh, okay. But I would absolutely love it if a third party would make one like that, So that way it would fit in with the guys out there that, I mean, I know I'm the Generation 2 guy, but I know a lot of G1 guys out there would absolutely love just a quirky-looking Unicron to stand on the shelf with the rest of their bots from G1. And I don't know anybody that would say no to that.
We had a couple of those prototypes there at Hasbro when I was working there, and I pitched that we should make like a Legends version Unicron based off that design, but the little one, and nobody got it. Nobody understood what I was trying to say, unfortunately.
Missed opportunity. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
But he's big. He's a planet. Why is he small?
He's a moon.
It's
Because it's like
it's just a toy.
It's the one that Optimus or any of like the Masterpiece can just hold it in his hand and explain that this is what's coming after them.
See,
like a hologram or something. They would have made it like translucent or something. It would have been really
you nailed it, man.
There you go.
Jim, what do you think about Unicron and his impact?
I don't know. I'm still visualizing the prototype and the ViewMaster feature. That blew my mind. I never knew that about that. I mean, I'd seen the images of the original prototype and all that. What was that? BotCon '97 or something. But I never knew about that feature. That was pretty neat. As far as the impact of that, though, outside of maybe the Death Star, or I don't know if Ego, the Living Planet, was around in DC by that point yet or not. But even so, I don't think that anything really had been done of that capacity before that point. So that was a game changer for a lot of sci-fi, not just Transformers in itself. But it was something grandiose and something, like I said, unheard of, and it completely changed the landscape. I mean, anything you thought you knew, it just took it, and I mean, it took it and beyond good, beyond evil, beyond your wildest imagination, for lack of a better way of putting it. I mean, they knew it was approaching. As it was attacking the moon bases, so they didn't have much of a time to prepare. So I mean, in the aftermath of the Battle of Autobot City and all that, it was just like the worst case scenario incarnate.
Yeah.
But,
now,
I think it honestly suffered from not ever receiving a toy until Armada. Honestly.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most anticipated toys of all time, I think, in my opinion, as a collector. And I don't own one now. I'm on the lookout for one of those the United one, or the one that was a Amazon exclusive. Yeah.
Didn't Orson have one at one point?
He had one, but at the time I didn't have the money to buy it. So
I didn't either.
But he may even still have it, actually. But anyway, we're quickly approaching an hour and a half here, and I want to wrap it up very shortly. But I want to throw a question out there, and whoever feels compelled to throw out an answer, if there is one. What was as far as characters go, what was the biggest mistake? What should have, who should not have happened, or who was mishandled, or who could have been handled better?
RC.
Why?
No toy. Why would you? My whole thing is like, seriously, she's like a main role character, but you don't give us the toy.
Why even bother having her in the cartoon / comics or anything if you're not even going to make a toy of it?
Right. I mean, Unicron I can understand because of the size and the cost value, but...
And he was a plot device, honestly.
Right, and honestly, I think a lot of people would probably agree with me. There's no reason why they couldn't have done that. I've seen people do customizations of a kind of retooling Hot Rod into RC, and it works.
Yeah.
So there really is no reason. And the same thing with Blur. I've seen them do the same thing with that toy design.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
I mean, I'm
RC
pretty
could have
sure
been a
Rick knows that.
redeco of Blur.
Right, and I'm pretty sure Rick probably saw some crazy things. I mean, we've all seen like the design sketches and probably like a few photos of the prototypes, but I mean, there's no reason why we should have had one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think these shows exist to sell product, to sell licensed goods. At the end of the day, when you have a main character and you're not making a toy just because it's a female character and a boy's brand, I think that's a huge missed opportunity now, especially in the world we live in today.
And you know what? It not only happened once, but it happened again just a few years later in Botanica and Beast Machines.
Yeah.
You know, you had a central character that was female, and yes, she had a weird alt mode, but never got a toy. Why even feature her in the show as a regular if you're not going to make a toy of it?
Well, the thing that killed me is the fact that G.I. Joe had how many female characters and released female figures well before the movie ever came out or anything.
And even at the same time.
Exactly. So there really was no excuse for that to me. But I guess the whole demographics is like, oh, well, would it be a pink Transformer? Would that sell to boys?
It does today.
I mean, it does to guys like me that collect a lot of Generation 2. Yeah, there's a lot of pink and just weird colors. But then again, you had the Seacons.
Scourge.
They had a lot of pink.
Scourge had nail polish.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the original G1 toy
I don't think the original toy had the nail polish, but it's the fact that the Seacons had a lot of pink. So really, what was the excuse? I don't understand what the excuse was back then.
They weren't free birds.
I guess not.
I think Rick might get that.
Yeah, I'm old.
Any other thoughts on 86 movie characters that were introduced before we wrap?
I'll throw a question out there. What 86 character would you like to see redone in the Generations line? Duran.
And
well, we got a Wheelie coming in Titan Wars,
and we've already got an Ultra Magnus. We've got an RC.
We've got Springer, Magnus.
Yeah, the Generation Springer was pretty darn good.
Blur and I suppose Scourge are on their way to Titan Wars.
Yeah. You know, we got Classics Rodimus, but I would like to see a new Rodimus. An actual Rodimus Prime, not just a hot rod.
Thank you.
And the thing is that, you know, yes, the Classics mold is quite dated now, and we could have better. But quite frankly, it's also a really good mold, in my opinion, and still stands as a good hot rod representation. Has the visuals that you expect. It might not have the posability of some modern figures or current figures, but it still stands well, in my opinion. But I would like to see a better Rodimus Prime. The Flaming Winnebago. I would like to see a Generations incarnation of him.
Honestly, I could probably see them possibly retooling, considering they're already retooling the Magnus as Optimus. Why couldn't they retool that as Rodimus Prime?
Too big.
Or remolded into the Eagle 7.
Well, I don't think size really matters. I mean, you look at those Jetfire size Seekers, so.
Right, and then that's my thing is, like, who cares about scale? If you want something that transforms that you literally don't have to, like, parts form, that's
the thing is, though, I don't
choice.
want it to be another a straight-up retool or a repaint. It needs to be a whole new toy itself. And, you know, Headmaster Dawn, I'm sure, would agree with me. You know, the Masterpiece showed that we had this nemesis of Rodimus Prime with the blacks and the purples, and then DX9 Carry, and you had Terror as the redeco of that mold. I'd like to see that in an official sense. You know, you have a Rodimus Prime, and then the repaint would be, you know, this black and purple and lavender redeco, and I think he would be amazing. You know, with the Fu Manchu, the black Fu Manchu stash, and this evil version of Rodimus Prime. Maybe even write it in a storyline. You know, Combiner Wars or IDW, whichever media may feature him. Write him as maybe a brother of Rodimus Prime that chose to go to the Decepticon ranks because his ideals were vastly different than Rodimus's. You know, so I'd like to see that, but will we ever? You never know.
Man, nobody ever says Sharkticons. I kind of want new Sharkticons.
Yeah,
I think it'd be kind of cool to see them possibly do maybe like a 2-pack with Sharkticons and an Alicon.
Yeah.
Like literally, like I don't know, somehow engineer the skeleton thing so that way it works for both types. So that way you actually have beast formers, and make it work. So that way you have a Sharkticon and an Alicon to have maybe a similar transformation, but some kind of retooling. I don't see why they can't make that work. That would be awesome.
absolutely.
I was going to say a Quintesson that actually has 5 faces this time, not like Energon. It's 3.5. But yeah, definitely I think a Quintesson, either one of the Quintesson like Balos or even the 5-face judges, I think would be something neat to see. And as far as your Rodimus Prime, I also agree there. It would need to be its own unique, brand new mold figure. And I want to correct my earlier statement. It was Eagle 5, not Eagle 7. The Schwartz was not with me. But actually, they could totally redo Rodimus Prime into Eagle 5 and have like Headmaster Lone Star and Target Master Barf. Who wouldn't
That would be awesome.
Who wouldn't want a Barf gun? I mean, come on.
That's even better. It's the barf gun.
I know. There is nothing not awesome about that. At least space tracks and everything.
And the tracks are plaid.
Yes.
I think we've jumped the shark here. You guys,
Sharkticon it is.
yeah, jump the Sharkticon here. I think we've talked about some really interesting things here. Again, check us out on Twitter at TFYLP. We're also on Facebook, and we also have a website, tftalk.net. Check us out on there. You can find out anything you want to know about TFYLP there, and also download old episodes if you are just now finding out about us. Please like, share, and subscribe to us. You know, that's the #1 way to show us that you enjoy listening to the show.
Sure.
You know, whether it be on audio download via iTunes or Double Twist or whatever method you download the audio straight from the website. You know, subscribe to us and also rate us. We'd love to hear from you. Guys, do you have any other closing thoughts before we go?
Just
Generation 2 rocks.
Yes. I saw you got the Superion. I'm jealous.
Yes. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, I have put up a review of Generation 2 Superion Combiner Wars. If you're a G2 fan, it should be a no-brainer. Seriously, buy it.
Just to clarify, this is the actual G2 Combiner Wars Superion. This isn't one of your customs.
This is not a custom. This is the original one that came out. I've had the box to prove it.
Okay.
I do a lot of G2 customs. Yes, I do.
Yes, you
But
do. And they're
this
awesome.
is the original stuff.
Awesome.
Also, Raw makes an awesome mech.
Yes. Yeah.
That is fun.
Well, guys, I think that'll do us for this episode. For Rick Alvarez, Jason Walson, Jim Black. I am Deron Land. We will see you next time on Transformers for your listening pleasure. Tune in next week, Friday nights at 9 on YouTube and also on our downloads via iTunes and other media outlets. Check us out then. Like, subscribe, and share. Please do. Guys, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time on TFYLP.
TFYLP.
Unicron pulls off his left leg.